Thank you for staying with us on World Now. Before we went on the break, we were having the conversation about Israel making a decision, a controversial decision, to recognize the breakaway state of Somaliland after about 34 years. There's been a lot of reactions to this in Africa and beyond the African region as to what this will really mean in terms of economy, politics, and governance in Somalia. We still have this conversation with the publisher, Inside Watch Africa, Oluwaseyi Ademo. Thank you for staying with us. Let's continue the conversation. We're talking about the fact that Somalia is a country that some will say has been destabilized for long, political issues concerning governance. Would you consider this a risk?
It is a risk. It means that what they only had going for them, which was their borders, is completely out of their hand right now. And that is very risky because that was probably one of the things they could hold on to, the fact that the world recognized sovereignty and they were not interested in breaking the country into two states. But now that this has happened, it definitely poses a very, very dangerous threat to the country, Somalia.
And there's been a lot of interest, in Africa, especially from, China, the United States, not just, Somalia in this case, also Nigeria. But we've seen that China saying that no country should support separatist forces. How much weight would you say Beijing's condemnation really carries? Looking at the fact that Israel may be encouraging other countries to perhaps selectively start recognizing their own territories for political coverage?
I think we almost recognize that we're living in very, very critical times. This is another, in my own opinion, scramble and partition for the world. Everybody is just in for a space, a strategic corner, a strategic business partner, and everybody is really on the table right now. And so China clearly is speaking for their interest, in how strategic this particular country is for everyone. That route or route is probably one of the most strategic in the world. Truth of the matter is, I know people were walking behind the scene before, but Israel haven't taken this decision and gone ahead of everybody. I know that everybody will pull out their fork and knives right now, and everybody go to see how much they can take out of the cake. Unfortunately, Africa does not recognize that nobody is going to give anybody anything for free. It's about negotiation, it's about bargaining, it's about getting the best deal from everyone. And Africa, unfortunately, have continued to be the pie that everybody, the rest of the world, have always come to. So again, this has happened. And I know that China, America, and the rest of the superpowers will definitely come to the table to see how they can also get part of this pie.
Africans especially may have come to recognize the fact that due to President, no one really is coming to save us, irrespective of how much, effort they put in the first place. But let's talk about what options Somalia really has. We've seen a lot of protests following this recognition, diplomatically, legally, or economically. Are they likely, do they have the power to push back against this recognition?
Clearly, this has been on for 34 years, and I like to emphasize that. So they really do not have any power to do anything. They can only cry wolf and shout to the world and expect that the world, as they had done before, will come to their aid, UN, AU, and the rest of them will say, oh, no, this is not right, which is what they're doing already. And unfortunately, they have a formidable opposition or picks a country to contend with in Israel. Israel is not an ordinary country who would take decision just for the sake of it. They have done their homework. They've obviously done a lot of talking, they've gauged and look at the best way to go about this before they eventually decided that this is the way they're going to go. And I'm sure that even if this table is going to turn, it's going to take a lot of effort for it to turn because, like I said again, Israel is not just one of those countries that takes decision just for the sake of it.
And, you know, Israel became the first in the world to do so. Somaliland has operated as a self-governing region for more than 3 decades now. Let's focus on what exactly is Israel hoping to benefit from this country through this recognition this time.
First, intelligence.
Okay.
They need to be on ground because of the territory to be able to have immediate and very, very close monitoring of Yemen that is opposite Somalia. And that is very, very important for Israel. They also need to be able to protect their business. Like I said before, we all know that because of what the Houthis have been doing in that corridor, they're able to do business in that corridor. And so for that reason, they need to be on ground to be able to protect their business in that environment. So that's what they're doing right now. They want to make sure that they have their eyes on the ball and be able to cut down on the rising cost because of how or the devastation that has been caused by the fact that Houthis have caused fare. A lot of shipping lines have refused to go through that route because of what the Houthis are doing. And so for that reason, I believe that Israel has a lot to gain from coming into this space because, like I said, economically and security-wise, they need a strategic positioning, and this country provides this for them.
This has, raised a lot of concern as to the role of the African Union, which is opposing this recognition, and it, brings up question as to the fact that African institutions should be the one to lead the decisions and not external bodies. We'll wait out to see what impact this will really have on that country, which has now been recognized. That's a fine place to leave the conversation for now. Thank you for talking to us. Publisher Inside Watch Africa,
It was my pleasure.
Thank you for joining us.